West, 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 West. This the West, 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 the West Coast. This the West, 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 the West, West. This the West, 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 the West Coast.
Back at it, West Coast Mindset, episode 6. And if you're a football fan, this was the weekend for you. A huge 3 days in the NFL draft. And to break it down, I have my guy Alex Ciulla, who actually covered the draft for Rotoballer. So what are you waiting for? Let's get to it right now. All right, people, it's a Saturday, and it is the last day of the NFL draft. And I got my guy Alex Ciulla here, who's actually been covering the draft for Rotoballer. Tell him where you can check it out, Alex.
Alberto, thank you so much. My name is Alex Ciulla. I'm an NFL and MLB writer for Rotoballer. You can find us at rotoballer.com. You can come find me at Twitter or X, I guess, for the new age kids, at AskAlex_NFL. Come find me there, find my takes. And I'm excited to talk about the draft, dude. It's so good to see you. I'm so happy to be talking about football. 2 months of no football is 2 months too long.
Way too long, man. We need it back. We've been waiting for a lot of the football to come back, and we finally talking draft, and let's do it.
Let's.
All right, man. So let's start it off. So with the biggest story, of course, Shador Sanders. He was finally taken with the 144th pick in the 5th round of the draft.
Crazy.
Crazy, man. So I was really shocked that he fell that low. And what do you think of the pick for Cleveland?
I am shocked that he fell that low. In my first, round of prospect evaluation, I didn't have Shador as a first round prospect. I think he has, obviously accuracy is his superpower, but something that he has trouble with is getting through his reads. He gets stuck on his first read a lot. So that's kind of why I had him not as a first round grade. But man, I did not think he'd fall out of round 2, let alone round 3.
Yeah.
And here we are on day 3, and he finally gets taken. Sheesh. I was one to bet against Shador for the last 2 days, but after him waiting so long to get picked, I'm more willing to bet on him and his success now, because I feel like he's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder, laser focused. How many 6-7 quarterbacks went before him? I think I might have miscounted, but that's quite a few.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what he can do. I'm still concerned. I still have my concerns. I think that he has trouble processing. But I mean, if he can get that around, he's got the accuracy to be an NFL competitor.
Yeah, I was shocked as well, man. Like, it got to the point where I started to feel sad for him. Like at first I was like, nah, he's got the cocky personality. I was like, okay, cool. I don't really mind him falling, but to the 5th round, I was like, bro, like
Right.
that low.
Well, that's a lot of the stuff I heard about him. What you just said, his cocky personality.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that just by watching him. But I've heard, Todd McShay say that 2 separate anonymous sources from 2 different organizations both said the same thing about him after their interview. And it was that they felt like he didn't care what they thought, which can be a useful tactic to kind of block out the noise. But you're not in college anymore. You don't get to call the shots. And I think that's part of it too, that the NIL deals now and his father, Dion, having so much control, let alone coming out and saying that he wants to coach his kid in the NFL. So I think it's hard to pick someone like that if you don't have him as a starter in your grade, and then you have his father in the background nipping at your heels at your head coaching job. That's a tough sell for any coach to me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I didn't think he was a first round pick as well. But I thought he can at least be a good 2nd-round pick, groom him in, give him a couple of years, sit behind a veteran starter, and he can be a successful starter. But I think a lot of it is what you said. Yeah, it's Dion, his voice being in the background. Shador, he's very cocky, like I said, and he has a big ego. And also, I saw a report that he on purpose, he didn't talk to teams because he didn't want to talk to the teams that he didn't want to be drafted from.
Right.
Instead of just being grateful and just being drafted by somebody. And it cost him, and it led to him dropping so low. So yeah, I think it's a good pick for Cleveland. And honestly, obviously he's not going to get the guaranteed money to start, but I think he's going to get his best chance to play, because of course Deshaun Watson, he tore the ACL, and he's been an or Achilles, was an Achilles.
The Achilles, yep, tore the Achilles, yep.
Yep, the Achilles, and he's been an absolute disaster ever since he got traded there. And I see Shador maybe have a chance to play in there, and they don't have a lot of options other than Watson. So yeah, I think he has a chance to play, and I think this could work out for him.
So I just pulled up the Browns depth chart. I think it's a great pick for the Browns. You asked me that and I didn't answer it because of the cost. You know, it was such a late pick on him. They got to do the other things in the draft that they needed to address because they're not just a quarterback away from competing, at least I believe. But I'm looking at their depth chart. So Watson won't be playing. They signed Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett this offseason. So
Oh,
they've
that's right.
picked Flacco. And then they also drafted Dylan Gabriel in the third round, I'm pretty sure. So I mean, Cleveland is taking a shot at quarterback. One of them's got to hit.
One of them.
Yeah, one of them's going to hit. It might be Flacco. You know, in for you fantasy guys out there, week 6, week 7, we might be talking about Joe Flacco as a streamer. So just keep your eyes out.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy, and yeah, we'll see if Shador can be the guy and take the reins and possibly lead the Browns to success. Because like you said, yeah, the Browns, they're still a ways away. They've been a laugher franchise ever since they got rid of Baker Mayfield. The curse of Baker Mayfield is still over them. He's laughing at them over in Tampa right now when he's winning games for them. So it's like,
Sure
yeah,
is.
so that front office in Cleveland, they're taking a shot here, and they think this might be the guy to lead them back to success and get rid of that curse.
Yeah, and I hope it is. I hope it is. You know, after the tumult that he's been through, it'd be nice to see him rebound.
Yep. Well,
Definitely.
yep, exactly. So let's move on to the second pick, and this was pretty surprising to me. So we had a trade for the second pick of the draft between the Browns, the Browns we talked about, and the Jaguars, in exchange for a couple of first round picks, including a first round pick in next year's draft going to Cleveland from Jacksonville. And of course, Jacksonville took the Shohei Ohtani of football. That's what I call him, Travis Hunter, the two-way superstar. And yeah, who do you think won this trade? And how do you think Travis Hunter will do in Jacksonville at the next level?
Sure, sure. This was a fantastic move for Cleveland. I believe they got the 5th overall pick, a second round pick, an additional pick, and then, like you said, a first rounder next year. It's exactly what this team needs to do because, like we just talked about, they're so far away from competing. They need to stockpile the resources. On the same hand, I should not say that's not the right expression, but it does seem like Jacksonville might have overpaid, but maybe not if they just got 2 players in one with Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
I'll admit I was not as excited about Travis Hunter as maybe I should have been over the last few months. But if they're going to play him on both sides of the field, 2 players in one draft pick, that's something that you can't beat in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
2, even though statistically he may not have been a top 5 wide receiver or defensive back, shout out to someone who I hold in very high regards, Matt Harmon at Reception Perception, who spends so much time every year charting all these wide receivers, college prospects, the NFL prospects, charted him in some interesting territory. So Travis Hunter last season won routes, so a route success rate at a 92nd percentile or better against man, zone, and press, putting him in the company of like Odell Beckham Jr. when he came out and other names like that. So maybe I need to reevaluate my Travis Hunter tape. If he's going to run routes like that and separate at that high of an ability with the athleticism that he already has, I mean, Jacksonville's looking good with weapons like Brian Thomas Jr. and Hunter on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no question. And like you said, yeah, Travis Hunter, yeah, although he's not a great route runner in terms of running the full route tree, but his athleticism, just being a superhuman athlete, a man amongst boys, and being an athlete, puts him above the rest. And yeah, I think he's only going to get better because he's going to work with the wide receiver coaches to help him learn the route tree. And yeah, like you said, with Brian Thomas Jr. being next to him, he doesn't have to be the number 1 guy going in. He can just blend in and learn the position while he's still pretty good at it. While he's still pretty good at it. And obviously, Trevor Lawrence, he got the big contract, and he really hasn't lived up to being the first overall pick and being supposed to be the next Andrew Luck for years now. And he has a lot to prove. And now that he has Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. out there, and all that, I think he'll be better. And yeah, like you said, Jacksonville gets 2 players in one. They got a number 1 corner and a number 2, maybe 1 receiver. So yeah, this is good. And Cleveland, like we said, they need a lot to rebuild their team. And I think it can be a win-win for both teams. But if I was to pick one, I'm with you. I'm giving Cleveland the upper hand in this trade because Jacksonville, the Browns, they're not going to be good next year. So that pick's going to be pretty high. So there's a chance that pick is going to be pretty valuable next year, especially with the quarterbacks that are coming out next year with Arch Manning and possibly Dylan Raiola and a lot of those other
Right.
players. Yeah. So I think Cleveland has a chance to really rebuild things and be pretty good.
I think so too. And I think that was part of it, that they saw that the quarterbacks in this class pale in comparison to the ones supposedly that are coming out next season. There's a whole college football season ahead of us that who knows what's going to happen. I'm sure there's going to be breakout players we weren't expecting, but it's a fantastic move. And for Jacksonville, they needed help on both sides of the ball. Their run defense wasn't terrible last year, but they need help covering the pass. And Hunter's going to help them on both sides. I really love the fit. He doesn't have to come in right away and be the number one guy. They already got Brian Thomas Jr. there. And like you said, Trevor Lawrence hasn't lived up to his billing. I think this is it for him. If he can't succeed this year,
Yep.
there's probably going to be conversations about whether he's going to be a Jaguar moving forward.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's going to be hard to move that contract. That contract they gave him is a lot of money, and I don't know if they're going to be willing to trade and if someone's going to be able to eat all that money right away and they can get rid of it.
Totally.
Yeah, so it's gonna be tough. So, yeah, so it's a bright future for Jacksonville and a bright future for Cleveland if they make the right picks and they make the right decisions when it comes to rebuilding their team.
Definitely.
All right, so let's move on to the guy who was taken first overall, who is expected to be the savior in Tennessee, and of course that's Cam Ward, who was taken first overall, and to be the franchise quarterback of their future. So what's his upside, and do you think he can lead Tennessee to success pretty soon?
Soon, I'm not sure. There's still some stuff in Cam Ward's profile that I think he needs to work on. But let's step aside, intangibles and athleticism and statistics aside. Something that really stuck out to me, and I'm not sure if anyone else noticed this, but just watching him on draft night, no flashy jewelry, came in a tan suit with a white shirt, buttoned up, there for business. You could tell there was just nothing over the top distracting away from him, which I loved. I love to see that. I thought that was a little thing that means a lot. And then even to build on that, the next day at his introductory press conference, I don't know if you saw this, but Warren Moon came in and gave him the option to wear his number one jersey, which he would take out of retirement. I thought that was really awesome. And I think that foreshadows what this kid might be in the league. He's got a huge arm, the best arm in the class, I think, besides Milroe, maybe. Ward has a dual threat ability. He didn't run too much in college, but I think that would behoove him to do so in the NFL. It's kind of escape the pocket and extend plays with his legs. He's definitely capable of doing it. And I don't know if he'll find immediate success this season, but I do think that the Titans picked the right guy at the top of the draft. Even though he wasn't my top ranked prospect, he was my top ranked quarterback, and Tennessee definitely needs one. I don't think we can suffer through another season of Will Levis starting.
No, we cannot. That was an absolute disaster watching them play quarterback, throwing balls underhand and falling to the floor, and it was just like, yo, like this guy is really a quarterback. Like, what's going on here? Yeah, but to your point, I think Ward has a chance to be pretty good for this team. Obviously, they're not going to be good going forward because they still have a lot of pieces to build out to make that team a contender. But they have some solid receivers there, and I think he's gonna slowly figure it out and get better. And he has a pretty good running back in Pollard in the backfield to help him out and run the football. The offensive line still has to get better. They still have to get better at pass protection, all that stuff, and protect him. But yeah, I think he has a chance to be pretty good. And like you said, he looks like he's all business and he has the intangibles, and he looks like he's the opposite of Shador Sanders. He's not this flashy rah guy like that thinks it's all about him. He's just there for business. He's gonna sit in the room and learn and get the reps to be better every single day at practice. And yeah, I think he has a chance to be pretty good in maybe 2-3 years.
Yes, there's a video that came out. I'm sure everyone's seen it. Maybe not the whole thing, but of Shador and Cam Ward. It wasn't at their pro day, but they were throwing together. Mm-hmm. And one part of the video that really stood out was that Shador said to Cam, like we should make a song. Let's make a rap or something. And Cam Ward's answer was, "I play football." Yep. When you look up Cam Ward on Google, it's going to say American football player. And I think that was the most telling thing that of this whole process. He's going to show up and work.
Exactly. That's what you want, like your franchise quarterback. You want a guy who's going to come into work, be the first guy in, last guy out of the building, and learn and just get the best out of what he's being taught. And yeah, I think he's going to be pretty good, and I like what I see.
I think they might surprise us next year, Tennessee, because they had a really solid defense last year. They let up a lot of points, but they were, I think, third fewest yards per game allowed in the league on the defensive end. So, I mean, if Ward can come in and at least manage some games, we might see Tennessee win more than we thought.
Yeah, and the AFC South is not really a good division,
Oh no,
and the Houston Texans took a step back because they gave up a lot on their offensive line, which is not great to begin with.
right?
And CJ Stroud regressed last year after having that great rookie season, and of course, they have some injuries there at receiver other than the Nico Collins, and they're pretty much a one man team when it comes to just receiver and quarterback. So yeah, I think Tennessee could challenge. I wouldn't bet on them making the playoffs and win that division. And Indianapolis, of course, Anthony Richardson, he's the biggest wild card. We don't know what he's going to be. He's trying to be Cam Newton when he's not Cam Newton, and so yeah, that division's up for grabs. So yeah, maybe it wouldn't surprise me if they surprise people and compete in that division.
Definitely.
Exactly. Well, let's move on to from guys we were talking about that were the marquee names to a guy who might be a sleeper. Who was your sleeper pick in this draft? Who do you think is going to be a better than we think?
I got two for you, and I'll give you three if you want a defensive guy.
Yeah, give me three.
I got two good ones. First off, Jack Beck or Besh. Not exactly sure how you pronounce his name. He was selected out of TCU, wide receiver. The Las Vegas Raiders took him second round, pick 28. There were, if I'm not mistaken, I have it somewhere, 7 receivers taken before him. Hold on one sec. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 receivers taken before him. And honestly, he's my second or third ranked receiver in the class.
Wow.
So I think we could see a really big year out of Jack, or maybe not a big year, but I think he might surprise some people. And if we look back in like the end of December and we say, hey, Jack Besh is the second best receiver in this rookie class, statistics wise, I wouldn't be very surprised. He's a 6'1" physical guy. He plays on the outside and the inside. He also was a fantastic route runner. He had a route win percentage against man at the 85th percentile, 75% of the time. And he was 91st percentile against press, which is fantastic if you're going to be an outside receiver. I love the move for him to Oakland or to Las Vegas because Geno Smith, accurate passer, and his only real target competition, aside from Brock Bowers, who's going to dominate the middle of the field, is Jacoby Myers, who's a great receiver in his own right. But I like Jack Besh a little more. I'm going to mess that name up all year. I like him a little more because he is, although he's not the fastest guy, he's got a good yak ability, and he also is a really good zone beater. So I think he's going to be a really nice tool for Geno. And that offense, I don't know if I'm excited about it, but it's intriguing now with Genti there. Geno is a competent quarterback. Brock Bowers, his second year, obviously he's going to keep ascending. What a monster rookie year he had. So I'm really excited about Jack Besh. I think he could be a cool sleeper. Another guy who, unless you want to jump in on Besh real quick before I get to my next guy.
Oh, no, nothing serious. I was going to say that yeah, I actually did hear about Besh. Not him as a player, well, not like on the field, but I heard about his story where his brother passed away, and it was a pretty crazy story on the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark, Channing Crowdy, and Fred Taylor. And yeah, this guy looks like he has the heart to really put all in. And yeah, he said he's gonna do all he can, and he's gonna play for his brother Tiger out there, and he's gonna have a great career. And I think he can be a pretty good receiver. But go ahead.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that pick for them. And then my second pick, I want to make sure I get the pick slot right. Yes, the Broncos took RJ Harvey in the second round, running back out of UCF. Harvey is a speedster. He doesn't really have the build to be an every down player. Honestly, I thought that the Broncos were going to go with Amari and Hampton in the first round. I know everyone thought the Broncos were going to go with Amari and Hampton in the first round. I was surprised to see them take a defensive back there, considering they have the kid Moss and Pat Surtain out on the edge. But RJ Harvey, I think, can also surprise some people this year because he's in one of the better spots. I think everyone underestimates the blocking ability of Denver's line. They were ranked, I think, top 3 in the league in pass block wins last year and maybe 11th in run. So I think RJ Harvey could actually make a real impact. He's not going to get 15, 20 touches a game. He doesn't seem like he's built for that, but he has the speed and the ability to make a dent for that team, especially with Bo Nix if he keeps ascending.
Yeah, I like that. That should be pretty good for the Broncos, because the Broncos are a team on the rise. They're actually making a pretty good team there, and with the way Sean Payton calls offense, I like that. That's a nice pick. Very nice. Who's your third guy?
Definitely. And my third guy, he was a first round pick. I don't know how the Eagles keep doing this, but linebacker.
Howie Roseman, man, he always finds a way.
Linebacker, yes, Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. I mean, just watching this guy, just watching his highlights, because I didn't really know too much about him before he was selected. I'm like, man, they do it all the time. They always find these guys. He's first true linebacker off the board. He's rangy. He is very athletic. There's some questions about his leverage in the run game. He doesn't really have great instincts, but he gets around a lot of that with how athletic he is. And that's just another great pick. I mean, they just keep doing it, the Eagles. I don't know.
Yeah, that linebacker core over there in Philly is elite with him and Zach
Bond.
Bond, and the Kobe Dean from the kid from Georgia who unfortunately got hurt in the playoffs last year. He was playing very well for them.
Right.
That linebacker crew is gonna be pretty good. And yeah, he doesn't have to come in and play right away, because he's gonna be behind those two guys and he's gonna learn. So like you said, that's with those things you said, they're gonna help him become a professional. And yeah, that's a nice pick. And yeah, Howie Roseman always finds a way to do it. I don't like they're always they always think they're over the cap and not going to add more, but they always add this superstar player, and I'm like, how is he doing this? Like, it drives me nuts. I don't know how
I've been saying it since they traded for AJ Brown a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
Howie Roseman is lapping the league in terms of he is playing chess and everyone else is playing checkers. I'm not sure how he keeps doing it, but I mean, great drafter. You know, he's got an eye for talent, obviously. And what's exciting about Campbell is he can play off ball. You know, he's great in coverage, and you can also put him on the line and rush off the edge because he's good at that too. So they got a really complete player at the end of the draft to supplement all the people that they lost in free agency.
Yeah, man, Philly's gonna be tough to beat next year. They're gonna be tough to beat.
Yep, definitely.
Yep. Well, to close it out, overall, what team was the biggest winner of the draft, and who was the biggest loser of this draft?
So I had the Steelers as the biggest loser. Actually, right before we went on the air, they took Will Howard with one of the picks in the 5th round, or right at the end of the 4th round. I still think they're a loser. They took Derek Harmon with the 1st overall pick. I mean, we talked about this. I kind of made a joke, you know, that they're just going to keep playing defense and win 10 games every year. But like that's the way it seems. Derek Harmon, great pick. I like him up front with Highsmith, you know, and TJ Watt coming off the edge, because Harmon was a big disruptor in the middle of the line in Oregon. So I mean, that's a fantastic pick for them, but it's not addressing the issues that they have on offense. You know,
Yep.
Okay, so they took Will Howard, great. Mason Rudolph's your backup, fine. It's not exciting me. And we talked about how Pickens might be moved. I think they need to keep Pickens because I don't know if Metcalf can work out on his own by himself. I don't know if he's that kind of high volume receiver. Neither of them really are. I think it'd be fun to have both of them on the field at the same time.
They're both
every game is going to be a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, they're both pretty much the same guy. They're big, physical, deep route receivers. They're not like there's not one guy who's like really gonna dominate and the middle of the field and go out. They're both just home run threats.
Yeah. Exactly. And they're physical and they got, you know, they're dogs. They're both dogs. Don't get me wrong. And they're going to play hard in the run game. But I just feel like Pittsburgh, honestly, they need more weapons on offense. Sounds silly to say because their defense is so good. They need a quarterback. Obviously they probably weren't going to get one in this draft if it wasn't going to be Shador, but they need someone to eat up the middle of the field. You know, we've seen Pat Fryermuth for a couple of years now. He's a solid NFL tight end, but I don't think he's that short area, middle of the field target that like a Luther Burden could have been for them or an Emeka Ibuka could have been for them. It seems like they don't need that, but the Steelers are a really complete team and they compete every year. So it would have been nice to see them take someone that would have added to that instead of just keeping to build the defense, because they did it again. A couple of picks later in the 4th round, they picked another edge rusher, Jack Sawyer.
Yep.
I like the Caleb Johnson pick. You know, he'll probably split time with Jalen Warren, if not outright eventually win that job. Caleb Johnson, great running back. I had him pretty highly graded in the process, but I'm waiting for the Steelers to make that move where we're like, oh, okay, now we know why. Maybe it's Rodgers. Maybe Rodgers is still going to go there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Steeler Nation, man, they're sitting on their hands right now. They don't know what's gonna happen. Like it's either
Sitting on
gonna
their
be
hands.
it's either gonna be another mid season or it's gonna be a disappointing season.
Right.
Yep. All right,
And then
give me your winner. Who's the biggest winner of this draft?
biggest winner, maybe not the team overall, but the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams is the biggest winner of this draft. I mean, the whole offseason, to be honest, they signed 4 offensive linemen in free agency, addressing the need that they need, the glaring need that they had. Caleb Williams was sacked almost 70 times, if not 70 times last season, the most in the NFL.
Yeah.
And then you go out and you get Luther Burden to replace Keenan Allen. They also did they take another receiver? Am I tripping?
I believe so. Yeah, I know they took the one you talked about right now. I think they took.
That's right. They took Colston Loveland.
Yeah,
and
Colton
they took,
Loveland. Yep.
Man, I love that for Caleb Williams. Honestly, I love the Bears this year to really shock some people. I don't think Caleb Williams' rookie season was actually that big of a failure. I don't have the stats in front of me, but from what I remember, he went 10, 11, 12 games at the end of the year without throwing an interception. So protect that kid. You got new weapons for him. I think we should probably expect a lot of 12 personnel, a lot of 2 tight end sets for the Bears this season with Komet and Loveland.
Yep.
And Odunze and more on the outside. Actually, I think as much as Caleb Williams and the Bears are big winners, and I'm going to go back to fantasy because I'm always going to go back to fantasy.
Go for it.
I think Odunze and DJ Moore are kind of losers with the addition of Loveland and Burden.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I love Roma Dunze. Last year, I had him right up there with Neighbors and Harrison as far as like top receivers in the class. The underlying metrics supported it. I didn't expect him to have a big first year because of Keenan Allen and DJ Moore and, the uncertainty surrounding Caleb Williams in his first season.
Mm-hmm.
But you're just adding more competition. And I think Roma Dunze can rise above it, but it makes me a little leery. It definitely makes me a little leery in terms of fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, sometimes you can have too much. You could have too much sometimes. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
well, let me ask you a follow-up question to that. I was talking to my friend who's a Bears fan, and he was really was looking forward to them maybe getting Ashton Genty. You think it would have been better if they got Genty in the backfield to help Williams, or you think they made the right moves instead of doing that?
I think they could use a running back. I don't think it needed to be Genty, but they could definitely use a running back. Who are they running out? DeAndre Swift right now. I'm not even sure who his backup is. It's not Roshan Johnson anymore.
Yeah, it's Swift and Khalil Herbert, right? Or didn't Herbert get traded last year?
One of them got traded, either Herbert or Roshan. Maybe it is Roshan.
Yeah. I think it was Herbert. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a solid run game. I mean, look, Genty's going to come in. He's going to be awesome. He's already like a top 4 running back in fantasy drafts.
He's already the second highest paid, which is insane.
That is incredible to believe. That is incredible. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
And I do think he would have helped them. But I think just in general, they do need some sort of run game to alleviate pressure off Caleb Williams. But that maybe they're just going to be one of these teams that tosses it 40, 50 times a game this year, to air it out.
Yeah, it's like the Bears have something. They're going to be pretty good. Well, is there anything else you want to point out to us before we log off? Any like surprising picks anymore, or any?
I really like the Elijah Arroyo tight end out of Miami to Seattle. I think that's a great pick. I like the Arroyo a lot. This class is actually pretty loaded in tight end. I was surprised to see Loveland go before Warren, only because Warren was kind of the consensus top prospect at the position. But I think I forgot where he got drafted. Harold Fannin. Let me see. He got picked yesterday in the 3rd round. I don't have that round up. He was taken by the Browns.
by the Browns.
or
Okay.
early round 3. Harold Fannin led the FBS in receptions last season, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he'll have an immediate impact, but someone to watch over the next few seasons. You never know what's going to happen with Njoku. That's team seems like it's going to be in flux soon, so could be a lot of movement on that roster. But I love Harold Fannin and I love Elijah Arroyo to Seattle as far as tight ends. And I know injuries are a concern, but I was surprised to see Will Johnson, the cornerback, fall so far.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I was seeing that he was going to be a top pick, but yeah, of course the injuries were an issue there, and he fell.
Yeah, I didn't know about his toe. Apparently, he tore ligaments in his toe. It's supposed to be a big toe, which is kind of a big deal. And there's some undisclosed knee injury that nobody seems to know much about. But that was a shock to me that he fell so far, especially considering cornerback is such a huge need for everyone.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Alex, I want to thank you so much, bro. Once again, tell everybody how they can reach you and your work and everything.
Sure. You can come find me at rotoballer.com. Just type in Alex Ciulla. You'll see all my articles. You can also find me on X at AskAlex_NFL. Tons of fantasy content, fantasy football, fantasy baseball, and sometimes you might just get a random reaction out of me for no reason.
Yep. Well, Alex, thank you so much, man, and yeah, it was great talking to you.
This is a blast, man. Can't wait to do it again.
All righty, brother.
This the West, West. This the West, the West Coast. This the West, the West. This the West, the West.